Hi Hill City, we are so glad that you have joined us in this new year for some more online content. We are just having one of our online discussions, and because we don't have a sermon to discuss, we are going to be talking about New Year's. So many of you might have already made some New Year's resolutions. I don't know what they are. You can always leave a comment if you want to share. And New Year's resolutions don't have to be negative, but some of us think about them in a negative light because maybe we've never accomplished them, maybe they feel really discouraging, or maybe it's just been a really hard year and it's difficult to think about changing anything up or adding anything else to your to-do list. So we just want to talk about it maybe from a biblical and somewhat from a counseling perspective, and just talk about why New Year's resolutions can be discouraging first, and then maybe some things you can do if you would like to make some goals for the new year that would help you to feel they are more accomplishable and less discouraging. So first up is why they feel discouraging. Why do you think New Year's resolutions feel discouraging?
Because normally we make a list of things we don't like about ourselves, and then we're saying, I'm going to attack all these things. And I like in our prior conversation, I like what you said is like, but how did you get there? How did you get there? And so if we are not hitting the root of how we got somewhere, it's not like it's going to change. Maybe we can mask some of the things. I know for myself, it's like, all right, I'm going to change these 100 things. Because if you ask me, what would you like to change? And if that's just a list of, if that's what a New Year's resolution is, it's not going to happen. I will fatigue myself. I'm like, oh, I would love to, lose some weight, grow some more hair. I would love to, impact the world in such and such way. I would love to be close to my kids, have a better marriage. And the list can go on. And these are all true things. But if I don't know what's causing the disconnect in these kind of areas for me, and I don't address it, then we're just like, I don't know. This is how my mind thinks. It's like we're building the pyramids over something else that was built there. We're just building on top of things and not dealing with some of the core root issues.
Yeah, like for example, if it's some sort of thing, a very common one is to lose weight in the new year, right? And you can make that resolution without addressing, hey, I have some really skewed views of my value and worth connected to how much I weigh. Yeah. Or I have a really messed up self-image because of some things that were said to me at some point in my life. I have a tendency to project on other people and think they're viewing me as lazy or I don't know, whatever, not as smart or whatever else because I'm not doing these things. So if you're not addressing those issues that go back quite a way sometimes, but you're just making a resolution every January to lose weight, it probably won't help you in the long term, and it probably won't be very healthy either. You might choose some kind of quick fixes that don't really address those core issues that really have to do with how we see ourselves. Do we see ourselves as beloved children made in the image of God, no matter what is going on with our physical appearance, or are we just focused on presenting ourselves in a certain way to other people?
Yeah, and how long will that last too? So if we're just doing things just short term, we might hit some short term goals, and that might give you like the dopamine spike you need to quit. Yeah. But if we, me included, want something lasting, we might have to deal with the inner issues and then have a better plan. Because when you're talking about losing weight, I know according to research, a lot of overweight and obesity stems from abuse. And so I know if you started life as a child in like an adverse ACE, right? Adverse childhood experiences, you might be gaining weight to protect yourself. I know some kids thought that way, or you might be doing that so that no one recognizes you or doesn't really look at you in such and such way. And so I really do think getting down to the root of things is so important, of why we do and why maybe like even subconsciously do the things we do.
Yeah.
And maybe it's like for me, a lot of times like I'm stressed, I'm going to eat, you know, or these things that I like that I naturally do, and it was for me a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
So like that, this has not been like a 1 year struggle. It's been a massive struggle for a long time.
Yeah. And usually you need help in that process, right? Like we always say, you should definitely find a good therapist to talk through things with. You should seek counseling. You should be with community who can speak truth into your life. There are so many things that go beyond just like setting that weight loss goal, right?
Yeah.
And that's true for all areas. I mean, we picked that one because it's a very common one.
That's the New Year's resolution top.
It could be any New Year's resolution. It really could be. Even I think of a common one for Christians, like reading your Bible more.
Yeah.
What is the core desire there? Is it to know the Bible better? Is it to feel closer to God? Or could it be some verse one like you just want to appear a certain way, like you are a good Christian, or appear like you're doing the things you're supposed to do? There can be so many mixed motivations, and if we don't actually sit down and take some time of reflection and prayer, it's hard to know what that motivation is. I would say it's always good to be in your Bible more, but if you set yourself up for failure by coming at it from a point of view of, well, if I do this, I've like done something for God, then it's just gonna fail.
And I've seen people saying like, all right, I'm going to read this whole Bible in 90 days.
Yeah.
And there's those 90-day plans.
You can do it.
You can do it.
But
right?
what will you get out of it?
Yeah. And yeah, so you get to tell people you read the Bible in 90 days. But, you know, maybe we look at that even reading the Bible. I know for me and a lot of people, like if you miss a couple of days, you're like, I suck, you know? And we can come with a lot of heaviness of condemnation and shame instead of like, I want to be with God.
Yeah.
I want to be in His Word because I want to know how He is, who I am.
Yep.
And also like, if you miss a couple of days,
You miss them.
yeah, exactly. Miss a couple of days. If you don't have time to go back, then don't go back, but keep moving forward into hitting the goals because you want to, because you desire the right heart. You're not paying God back. You're not trying to one up someone. You're not trying to check something off so others can see. But you want to push yourself to grow in this area this year because that's an area that's important to you. And I think that's great. That's great. Let's do it, but don't do it with shame. Don't do it with pain, or all you're going to think about when you're reading the Bible is like, oh, it's a have to, and I hate this, and it's really hard when we're in that state of mind to get much out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do it as a discipline. I think it's a really good discipline, and there's moments I miss 10 days in a row, 12 days, and I'm like, oh man, I'm behind, but I choose to keep going forward many times unless I have this big gap. I'm like, I think I can get there. But a lot of times just keep moving forward and just don't quit because it's a discipline.
So we talked about some discouragement. What are some things that can help us accomplish goals? I feel like you just touched on one, which is even if you fail, don't take that as like failure.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times if we set a resolution and we mess up on day 4 or whatever, we're like, that's it.
Yeah.
I didn't go to the gym every day or walk a mile every day, or I ate a cookie, or I don't know, I missed a day on the reading plan.
Or I ate 15 cookies. Like that's how I fall off the wagon.
Whatever resolution it is.
Yeah.
One failure or one fail doesn't make failure.
For sure. I think a good way to make resolutions, you could call it the SMART method, SMART goals, whatever. But make sure it's specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's relevant, and it's time-based. and don't. And I would say allow your time base to extend for a while. I think it's okay to make 2-year goals, 3-year goals, 5-year goals, 10-year goals, and understand that there's short goals and long goals. But like I love Hannah, she like reviews her year, and like I want you to talk about that because like it's cool to like to make a big goal and strategize, but I really find that very important to review how things are going and review the past.
Yeah, I think I get more out of reviewing. I don't necessarily make a big New Year's resolution per se. There have been some years where I've done things as a group with people, like we're doing a Bible reading plan right now at Hill City for 23 days. There's some different things I've done like that, but my biggest thing is reviewing the year past. And I'll just go month by month and write out big events that happen, negative and positive, things that were impactful, and then I'll kind of review different categories for the year to come. And a lot of these things are multi-year goals, if you want to call them, like sort of looking at health holistically, not just like weight, which is a really poor measure, relationships, play, like if you are actually taking time to have fun, which for some people that's not a problem. For me, that's a problem.
Yeah.
So it's a category for me. Work, different things like that. I think there's 8 categories. And just go through and state how I feel those things went in 2023. And then this part I haven't done yet. Go through each category and say, what ideally, like if I could dream up anything, what would this look like in the year to come? And I try to keep it achievable, something that actually is possible, some practical steps forward. Like, hey, health-wise, I haven't seen a doctor or done a checkup in a while. I should probably do that just to be responsible for the body God has given me and to, maintain good health. Hey, I haven't talked to this person in a long time. I kind of like left them hanging, or we both left each other hanging, but I could take that step and reach out to them and just see, hey, how are you doing? How's life? The last time I talked to you, you're in this place. Where are you now? Those sorts of like achievable goals. So I find reviewing years, multiple, like over time, really helps you see patterns and things that are happening in your life that are have a much longer timetable than just, what am I doing January of the new year? It helps you to see, when summer comes around, last summer, I was really busy. I didn't make as much time for connecting with people, and it would be really fun to do these things. So let's keep that in mind for the summer ahead, that sort of thing.
I love that. It just reminds me, like, all over the Bible, it tells us to remember. And remember what God has done. And maybe that's one of the lists that we write down. Remember all the things that God has been with us in, and remember what He has brought us through. Remember those moments, and maybe even make altars and throw parties. And we find that biblically, but then in our life, we just cruise on by. And I really do believe like altar making is really, really important. It could be something in your house. It could be a rock. They used to, build little rock places so that every time they would walk by, they would say, oh, I remember when God did that. And it's really, really important to remember, or we live so in like just the things that went wrong. Instead of holistically seeing life and holistically seeing the good relationships you're in. Because like we really do live in a society, it's like what's next, and it can blind us from the present moment, and it can blind us from how long God has been with us and has been with us faithfully.
And you really do, you really get a lot of help in discerning what God's next is for you when you look back.
That's good.
Because you start to see these themes that keep being repeated,
Yeah.
or these doors that were open for you, some doors that were shut, and it just helps you to discern long term. Yeah, we're in this meandering path, and maybe it isn't super clear. These particular things keep being brought up. So what does that mean in this next year? How can I lean into that?
And I would do it just like that. What are the themes that I see right now? And like write those things down. Write the themes, connect the dots, because God is taking us on this journey and taking you on your journey And just to be aware of that, I think, is really important. And then one last thing for me was just like every year I ask the church and I ask myself, what is the one thing, that we can do a million different goals, but what is the one thing that, not that you just like to do, but that you need to do, that you must do this year? It cannot wait any longer. What is that one thing? And that could be like a broken relationship. That could be a parental relationship. That could be a marriage relationship. That could be, like you haven't, like I was thinking for some, it's like, there's things going on inside of you that you have pushed down so far, and now it's starting to scream out of your life, and it's hurting you. It's isolating you, and you have to deal with it. This is your year to do that. It could be forgiveness, and actually dealing with forgiveness, not just saying forgiveness, but actually going into the root of that pain. It could be your health, it could be relationship, it could be spiritual disciplines. You're like, I can no longer walk like this with God as if he doesn't exist. We say it, you're Lord, but in my life there's no evidence of that, and we can no longer do that. And this is the year of making this goal that you will walk with God, and that's why we do talk about spiritual rhythms.
Yeah.
Any other things that pop up in that?
For the one goal, I think the spiritual rhythm one is great, even coming up with one discipline that you'd like to grow
I like
in.
that.
And the only other thing I'd add is just like, be gracious to yourself in the fact that step might be like an inch forward.
Oh man,
because some
isn't that
things
true?
are so hard, but I know for myself, if I don't make like this crazy visible goal, then it feels like failure. But it's important to let yourself know, like, you want to pray more and you just spent 5 minutes a day in prayer consistently, maybe not every day even, but that built up over time, over the year, that's achieving something. That is being able to say, I accomplish this goal of spending more time with God. So just remembering, like, if it's forgiveness, and for the very first time you saw a counselor and talked about some really deep-seated wounds, and maybe that made things messier and harder, and you feel in a worse place than you did before. But,
and you might.
But you took that step, that's achieving the goal. So I think that's important to remember.
Or maybe write a letter to that person and never give it to them. And write maybe iterations of that letter.
Yeah.
And just to see it, just to write it out, just to actually express something that's really going on inside of you, I think is important. Because at some point, we will either process it or it will come out in other areas of our life when you don't want it. And if I know, like myself, I said, man, I don't normally do this. What is that? I didn't know where that comes from. Don't worry, I won't do that again. But no, that's coming out of those deep places of undealt with pain, undealt with relationships, broken things that do come out in other areas of our lives.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us, and I think there's many things we can get from this. And if you need to rewatch this, please rewatch it. And I hope that you have your one thing this year, but you give yourself grace and just know that God loves you. Thank you so much.